Alright, so we're back with some E53 content. 4.8 IS is right there in the back, and today we're going to be getting the suspension sorted. So that's going to be polyurethane, front control arm bushings, and adjustable rear control arms. Let's get it. Also, another thing I'm going to try and do today is replace this front drive shaft because it's busted, and I have a replacement one. So let's see if we can do that too. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is try and open up those tabs a little bit that are pressed in there on the top and the bottom of that collar nut.
Also, just to be noted, like, I don't know why those things were pressed in on the top and the bottom. They're supposed to be pressed in those little recesses, but whatever.
Okay, so here I just put the wheel back on. I'm just going to try and get this locking nut off. It's still there. Oh man, see, it just pops off. So my dad just gave me a hand and helped me loosen this up. So I was holding it while he had a breaker bar on here and gave me some extra force. And it looks like this collar is coming off.
Always do this while the car's on the ground so that the wheel keeps the axle from moving.
Okay, so what I just did, I removed the rear lower control arm, and what that is allowing me to do is pull this whole assembly out, which should give me enough room to push the axle through and pull it out. So I'm just gonna beat it out here. Why is it so difficult?
You're not using a big enough hammer.
Yeah, but it's supposed to just slide in.
Oh, slide.
But like on my Golf, they go in it, like I can put them in and out with my hands. I don't understand.
Not they and they. I've never had one slide out.
Really?
Never.
But they slide back in?
Nope.
So apparently this isn't that easy to do on some other BMW models. My dad was referring to his F10, but on the E53, it does just slide in and out.
And just like that, our axle's out. So here's our old drive shaft. Lots of tape. You can see this.
Side.
The CV joint is
Another side.
busted. So we're gonna just get rid of that. So if you can look in there, you can see I had to get a pry bar up in there and kind of angle it a bit like this and then bang on the bottom end here, and just I was able to use that lever action to pop it out. Okay, next up I'm taking off the bolt underneath the front thrust arm just at the hub side so that I can lower it down and then pull out the entire thrust arm because we're going to replace the bushings. Okay, so if you guys look in there, that is the bushing that we're replacing. Look at that. It's completely torn. It's garbage. Where this bolt is placed is kind of in a annoying spot, but if you pull back this, you should be able to get some room enough to reach it. It's more than enough room to get a wrench on the other side. And then my little ratcheting breaker bar, or even if you have a smaller ratchet, it'll work just as well. Now, I think another tricky part is also getting the bolt out of here, just because it's so long and there's limited space. Once your tools are out of the way, it should be easy to get it out. So I'll pull that out, and I'm gonna just push it through there, and you can see it's just popping out, and that's it. And now it can just pull out. Okay, so for the actual bushing replacement, I'm going to cut this old bushing out, and you're gonna see how I do that in a second here.
So what I would do different here is actually just start with a proper cobalt blade in the beginning rather than some cheap metal blade and have to change it afterwards.
Switch over to a slightly larger blade that is cobalt, and I should be able to do the rest of this.
So yeah, like I said before, just start with a proper metal cutting blade. You have to go through the rubber and the metal, and it's okay if you nick a little bit of the inside of the carrier, just don't cut it in half.
So yeah, you can see right there where we're cutting. So now I'm just gonna knock in one of the ends of these.
So yeah, this part actually won't work if you haven't cut all the way through the metal in the bushing. But it should be enough to at least get the rubber out.
So if you pull this intersection out, it actually becomes a lot easier to remove this piece here.
So the reason why it looks like I'm struggling to really bend this thing in here is because, like I said, it's difficult if you haven't cut completely through the metal. So just make sure you take your time.
It's giving me a harder time than I anticipated. I'll give it a little bit more of a cut. And yeah, I think that was my problem there. I wasn't completely through it, so now it's folding in, and there you go. The whole thing will come out now.
Again, don't be afraid to take your time when you're just pushing this thing out of here.
And that's it. Okay, so this bushing kit is from PSB, Problem Solving Bushings. They are polyurethane bushings with a solid steel metal insert, and that's pretty much it. It's just a completely solid poly bushing, so this should eliminate any vibration and any further crazy wear and tear that this should have. And one more thing I would recommend doing before you push in your new bushings is clean out the inside of this control arm with a wire wheel.
Always a good idea to clean out surfaces that you're going to press things back into.
So right now I'm just lubing this up a little bit so that it can receive the new bushing with minimal stress. So this method is what I would do if you don't have a press. So if you have a vise, table vise, bench vise, you're going to get your bushing in there. Okay, so that wasn't working. I am trying this bushing press tool to see if I can get a more even. Okay, so we're trying a different method here now, again with a bearing puller going through the bottom there, and then I'm going to put something on top of this to pull it down. And you can see here our new method is much more controlled and linear in action as we pull the bushing in. It falls in where it should fit. Okay, last part of this install is getting this metal. That's it. Okay, so we are now working on the rear end of the X5, and we got our adjustable control arms. These are made by a company called Overhaul. They're just adjustable rear control arms, toe and camber. So we're gonna get to installing these right now.
Okay, so these joints that are in here right now are actually bad. If you look at this one, this ball joint.
So the driving symptoms of this madness is that the rear end of your car is going to feel like it's trying to kill you all the time.
See how much that's
Like it's constantly steering by itself.
moving there. This is garbage, so I need to pull these both up.
Okay, so to show you guys how I got the alignment sorted without having like a lift or anything, I actually just lowered the car down on some jack stands. So it's not exactly like how it would be if it was sitting on the ground, but it's compressed the arms and the struts to about where they would be if the car was sitting on the wheels. And this makes it a lot easier to actually get access in here to adjust the arms and the bolts and whatnot. So that's just how I did it, I guess. All right, so another quick thing we're doing here is we're gonna replace the leather. I got a steering wheel cover for this, and I'm gonna see if I can paint this a little bit and just clean it up a little bit. And after pulling off the wheel, I'm just loosening up these screws at the back to remove the plastic fascia. And that leaves me with just this piece and the steering wheel itself. So I'm gonna take the buttons off of this and sand it down a bit and paint it. So as you can see, that's the wheel there, and this is our new steering wheel cover.
Now I'd like to say that these eBay steering wheel covers are super easy to install. They're a bit tedious. You want to make sure you use the double-sided tape on the inside to hold it secure to the wheel, and when you're doing your stitching, just be really consistent and take your time. It's gonna look good once you're done.
All right, and the last thing we're gonna do on this is change some fluids. So we got the front diff and the transfer case and the transmission fluid. I'm not sure how much we'll get done today. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we gotta do is remove this metal plate. So I think it's, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts, and it should come out. These are actually a bit more annoying than I thought because there are nuts on the top of these bolts. Now that I've gotten that skid plate out of the way, I can see now that this thing actually does have a block heater. I didn't even know that. Not only that, this is our diff. It does look like there's some fluid that's coming from it. We are going to clean this thing up and put some new fluid in, because the last thing I want is for this thing to explode. So like they always say you should do, check your fill plug first before removing the drain plug. So we're gonna get this up in there and see if I can relieve it from its spot there. Yep. Does smell pretty rancid though. There we go. How much fluid there is. Oh, there's fluid. But not much. I've got this little suction thing here that my dad bought. I'm gonna use this to fill it up. So we'll move you back a little bit.
Pass.
Okay, and that is where we start seeing it drip out there. Okay, so now for the transfer case. This right here is a transfer case. We're gonna check the fill plug first. It's up here. See what we're saying. Seems like it came out without any issue, which is a great start. Oh, lost it into the oily abyss. This is the drain here now. So I'm gonna try and hit this wrench with a hammer here.
Okay, so this method didn't work. I ended up trying to get one of my tiny sockets on this small little ratchet head that you see there, and then I made like an extension bar, but this is ultimately what ended up working.
Ready to come out. It does look pretty brown. Okay, so now we're gonna fill this up with the BMW transfer case fluid. And I'm using my same little pump tool here. Just gonna pump it in until it starts coming out. Okay, now we're doing the transmission fluid, which is gonna come from this. We're gonna do this fill plug first. This is actually this massive thing in the middle. It's a 17 hex. This is the fill. Oh, come on. Oh, there we go. So we're gonna see if we get any fluid coming out of this here. Yep, there it is. We get some fluid out of there, and then we're gonna get the rest of the fluid out. Oh, that stuff looks nasty. We're gonna get the rest of the fluid out through this drain plug, which is right in front of it, you can see. There we go, that one comes out nice and easy. Okay, now with our drain plug back installed, gonna start filling this thing up into the side. Okay, now I have the car on and in gear. It's in drive. And we're filling it up even more. It eventually got to a point where it was full with the car being off. And now we have to fill it up with the car being on.
And that pretty much wraps it up for this episode, guys. And I know a lot of the work is stuff that you can't see from the outside, but the truth of the matter is, a lot of the times keeping a car on the road involves a lot of work that you don't really see. Key thing for me this time was getting my rear fitment dialed in so that I can stop eating through tires, a common E53 issue. So stay tuned for next time, guys. We're really ramping up how much content we're putting out. So keep your eyes open. Until next time, peace.